This is Mike J. Laneside at the 2010 PBA World Series of Bowling, and it's time for a special PBA 39x60 product demonstration. Joining me, Pro Tour consultant for Storm the Bowlers Company, Chris Schlemmer, and the two-handed sensation from Australia, Jason Belmonte. And Jason, dad and husband, how are things back at home, and how's the young Belmonte?
First off, was there a little hint of an Australian accent there when trying to say the word Australia?
Not as good as Mike Fagan, but I tried to give it my best crack, as it were.
I thought I heard a little attempt there. Things are wonderful. I love being a dad. I love and miss home very much, and it's nice to go away and do well because it's sacrificing to leave your family to come and move to another country to bowl. So I'm very happy.
And also joined by Pro Tour consultant Chris Schlemmer. And Schlem, little different scenario at the World Series of Bowling. A major rule change has changed the way you do business. Coaching now legal in PBA competition.
Yes, it's made my job completely different. I've been out here for going on 10 years, right when the new PBA started, the new regime, and there was the no coaching rule installed at that point. So I kind of came in, after the guys that preceded me, and it now puts a whole new spin on everything. Now being in there shot for shot with, when these guys were doing battle, and obviously Jace can tell you, when I'm actually now I can communicate with them. When you're throwing a shot and trying to get a better mindset of what's going on, as opposed to having to take notes and mental notes and keep track of it all after the squad. Now I can actually be there right in the middle of it when it's happening, and it's added a lot to my plate as well with my staff guys. So.
And Jason, from a player standpoint, last year out on tour, you didn't have the coaching ability during competition. Now you do. What's the difference?
I think the biggest difference is when we would talk after a squad, Schlem would say, I think you should have moved here. And you're like, why couldn't you give me some signal or something like that to tell me to do that? But, now because it's legal, we can discuss what we see out there, and obviously two heads are better than one. And he also sees things that other people are doing. I'm focusing on what I'm doing, and maybe with a couple of guys around me I can see, but Schlem can walk across the entire house and he can say to me, this is where someone's playing, or this is what I think you should do, and we can discuss with it. And I think the really good thing about Schlem and the relationship that I have with him is it's not a forceful relationship where he kind of tells me this is what I should do. We discuss it. And for me, it's been a wonder. I mean, we almost got there in the Chameleon Championship. If we had changed balls 2 frames earlier, we would have got there. But that's something that we learnt as well. So it's been a wonder. And look, honestly, I said it to him on the phone, and I'll say it again. But the hours that he has to put in here, I'm here for 2 squads a day. He's here for 4 squads a day, and then he's here for every of the finals. I tip my hat off to the guy because as soon as I'm done, I want to leave. And, he's got to stick around all day, all night, and do it over again for 10 days. So thanks, Schlem.
Cheers, mate. Let's get into the discussion on the specific product. Storm, Chris, with a couple of new products. So we're going to look at it from the inside, and then we're going to actually take a look at a competition ball. Let's start.
Yeah, the first ball we'll talk about right here is the newest addition to the Rain line. We got the Rain Supreme. We had the original Rain, and we also came out with which was pearlized, a pearlized R2X, and then we came out with a solid version in the Rain of Fire. The newest addition is the what we consider a hybrid. So it's actually the best of both worlds. It's the actual cover is R2S hybrid, and it's half solid, half pearl. So what that does is it actually blends out the friction on the back end, and most people will recognize this from the High Roads. The High Road was obviously one of the best balls for the last couple of years, and we've now taken the same material, but it's formulated a little bit different, obviously in this, and obviously with a new core, and we've now created a totally, I like to refer to it as we created a new monster. It's actually still clean through the front part of the lane, but it gives you a strong, controllable shape on the back end without overreacting. So.
And the next product?
And the other one here is the newest version of our high-end line, our premier line, is the Anarchy. And this is actually the same core that we had in the Invasion, which is our origin core, our mass bias core. But we took it, obviously the next level from the solid cover stock, we actually made it a pearl. So this is R3X, is our strongest pearlized cover. And this is really our biggest hooking ball, the Invasion and now the Anarchy. This gives you more length and more back end as opposed to a solid cover stock, which wants to read the lane a little bit sooner. So combination of core and cover gives you the clean and the pop on the back end. And here's the example of that yesterday on the shark pattern. Jason actually used an Anarchy the full time. Obviously we battled some friction here this week in the lane surface. So the pearlized cover helped get it through the front, but the mass bias and the strength of cover and core helped him control the back end, and it gave him a pretty good look, for all 9 games.
And Jason, we've glued this one back together. Take us through surface prep and the layout of this particular ball used in competition.
This ball is actually lucky to be here. I had actually drilled this ball back home, and I had about 5 or 6 balls looking at it, and I could only bring 3 over because of the weight restrictions. And I kind of did the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and it was picked. And I didn't use it enough this week, and that was probably my stubbornness. I mean, Schlem had told me to maybe try it a little earlier, and it was quite stubborn because I just didn't think that this particular ball would work really well on this particular surface, but proved me wrong. The pearlized cover allowed me to not have to overthrow the ball. I could stay in the shot. I can just work on, throwing it where I wanted to throw it, and just let the ball do the work. I hit the ball with 1,000 before we started, because obviously with the shark you still want the ball to be reading a little earlier than usual. And then basically I never needed another ball thereafter. It just read the lane. It kind of floated through the oil, and as soon as it saw the friction, it didn't overhook off it. It just read it really clean, and then it made a really defined move, but it was a very smooth move. So my adjustments weren't too big either. If I left the 4-pin, I could just move a couple and it would be fine. So I was very impressed with how this ball worked on the shark, and it's something I'm going to be using a lot more often on longer patterns.
Coming up also here at the World Series of Bowling, we have the USA versus the world. Of course, Jason representing the world on the world squad. The world is starting to assert itself, both in terms of play and in terms of storm.
Yeah, I've been traveling around the world now for a long time, and I've seen some of these great players bowl on a regular basis, and it really is a little upsetting when some of the top guys in Europe don't get some of the credit that they deserve. I still believe that the Americans are the strongest bowling nation in the world. There's no doubt about that, and the depth of their talent is a lot deeper than there is anywhere else in the world. But Europe and Asia have their fair share of really good bowlers, and this week the internationals kind of stepped up and proved to everybody that we're not just making up the numbers over here. We actually are very competitive, and we actually have a very legitimate chance to win. And of course, it's wonderful to see other guys on staff like Osku over here, and not just bowling great, really dominating some of the tournaments. So I'm very impressed with how our bowling balls rolled on this particular surface and on this particular lane oils. It was brutal out there. 60 games. You needed to make sure that your equipment was just like you, ready for the challenge. I wouldn't have got there. I truly believe that. I wouldn't have got there if I didn't have the right balls in my hand. And I believe Storm were the best for this particular week. So I was very impressed with all our gear, and impressed in the international guys. It's really it makes me happy to be able to say that I'm a part of a very small group of guys who are kind of making a name for themselves out here.
Well, the United States of America is a big place, so it makes sense that a lot of bowlers come from there. But Chris, the world is an even bigger place, and Storm's place in that world is starting to assert itself even more.
Absolutely, yeah. Internationally speaking, and obviously, like Jason mentioned, we got Osku, and we've got international players, and basically all continents. And obviously, getting those guys coming over here and actually getting a chance. We had a couple of Korean staffers, Mr. Choi and Mr. Jung Tae-Hwa, who represented well. We had Dom Barrett over here from England. So we've got a mix of the best of the best. And Jason did make a great statement in the fact of there are great bowlers around the world, and now we actually finally got a little bit more of a full exposure, I think, actually getting more of those guys here in one playing, basically on one playing surface. Like we go to Japan every year. Well, yeah, we get to bowl with the Japanese bowlers, but we've never had a PBA stop in England, and we haven't got to pull all those guys in. And even like you said, we got one of the shows where we got 4 international players and 1 American. So that right there, states are their case. We got some good bowlers around the world. So.
And Storm is a part of that world revolution. Jason Belmonte, thank you. Chris Schlemmer, Pro Tour consultant, thank you. You're watching Extra Frame and a special PBA 39 by 60 product demonstration from the 2010 World Series of Bowling.